because he's actually kind of capable.
Yeah.
So since he's capable, so he's actually the head now for bioresource, and then like Raj professor, like an Indian guy, he's actually the head for the animal science.
I see.
And yeah, and then the Ramasamy, he's the Indian fellow. He's the head for the food technology.
Oh, that's
and
good.
Yeah, so many people are actually head now, very young people.
Okay.
And I'm gonna be actually speaking to Slava too, because I wanted to probably think about doing some kind of a collaboration with him as well, like and maybe we can also do something like let's talk about it some other time, right? I was mentioning it to you.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Last time we were exchanging some kind of the sensors from the US, but then because of the lockdown we completely we couldn't do anything. So you showed me something, right, from New York. There is a company and they had like some specific sensor that can be used to measure everything right in the soil. So are you planning to buy that, or maybe we can do some reverse engineering on that?
Yeah, I was thinking the second option to do some in-house development because that sensor pretty much quite expensive for us.
Yeah.
Because talking about the numbers of sensor that can be utilized. So if we rent the sensor, is not practical, it's useless, because I think you understand the soil is actually have a spatial variation. So
yes.
So with that knowledge, I think it's more economics to have in-house production, and then we can develop.
And plus in countries like US and Canada, or like some European countries or developed countries, we can have things like that, and no one is going to steal it. No one is going to take it away. But in probably let's say India, you put something and it can be gone in no time. So it can be very we need to have a very kind of a compound in which no one is allowed, and because if you put some sensors that are expensive, it can be very challenging.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I don't know how it is in Malaysia though, but at least in India it could be very challenging.
It depends on the level of knowledge that we have.
Yes.
Some of the stuff actually quite basic, so those are going to be not proprietary knowledge, so those can be a public. So some of the knowledge actually within university, so it can be proprietary, so that have to be patent and so on, so it's protected by patent, IP and so on. So yes, Malaysia is okay, yeah, so not really bad on that.
So Ahmad, I think we are on time now. It's like 9:35, and let me introduce you to my to actually the faculties from our department, especially instrumentation engineering. And then I was planning to wait for our principal sir, but he's actually running a bit late, so he might not be in today. The other day I introduced you already, right? So so he will be joining us around 10 o'clock, from my local time, so half an hour in your time. Okay. And then after the session, then we can actually we can have some chat again with him. So Dr. Matsu, Dr. Ahmad Suhaizi Mat Su. So Mr. Karade sir, are you around?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so Vikas Karade, Ahmad Mat Su. So let me just actually mention about my department. So my department is actually called as Instrumentation Engineering Department. And instrumentation engineering is kind of a branch which is more or less deals with automation. And what we were doing in Slava's lab, basically Slava's lab was the instrumentation lab, right? So everything related to automation is kind of actually being taught in our department, and then we can deal with different industries, it could be process industries where they actually do food processing, or it can be chemical processing industries, it can be pharmaceutical processing industries, or it can be oil and petroleum based processing industries, it could be textile processing industry. So any kind of a processing industry where there is actually need to measure something and control and to make less human intervention. So those kind of areas are where actually the students who actually learn from our department can find a job. So basically I'm from this institute. I did my UG from the same institute. I live in a place called Madhonagar, which is actually 400 kilometers south of Mumbai like Bombay. And it's like, like approximately 200 kilometers like to the west of the coastal area of like, Maharashtra state. And we are kind of, because we have a river, so we are kind of fertile on the like, on the sides of the river. But then as you start moving interior, then it can be like semi-arid. So you remember Dr. Madramuthu, like, you worked with him, right? So
Yeah.
he's having that institute, right, called as ICRISAT. He's like one of the director for ICRISAT. So that
Okay.
ICRISAT is actually having their office in Hyderabad. Hyderabad is a place like, which is a little bit western to our, actually, like, eastern to my place. And like, as I start moving to the eastern part, then, I start going in the interior of India. There is not too much rainfall because all the rain falls on the coastal area, and then as it starts moving inside, it starts getting empty. So in that area, there is a lot of issues like, with water scarcity. But like, in my part, actually, there is a lot of water. So, there is like, kind of a dilemma. Like, you can actually do agriculture where there's a lot of water, and then you have to do agriculture where there is actually very, very scarcity of water, right? So, so it can be like, combination of something what you see like in Israel, where there is actually scarcity of water. But then again, if you go to like, Canada and these countries, there's a lot of water, right? So people, they have to apply both techniques. And then if you remember Dr. Prashar from, like my co-supervisor, so he belongs from Punjab. Punjab is another state which is in the northern province of India. So they are like, they are very fertile. Like, they have a lot of rivers there, and they have a lot of water, and they have a flat land. So they are the ones in our country who actually progressed on the front of agriculture for the last, like, so many years. And there are many reasons, because these people are actually like, all over India. So they are actually in UK, they are in Canada, like, the Sikh people, the Punjabi people have their presence everywhere. And because of having their presence, so they are actually like, able to exchange like, technologies, and they are able to implement the technologies, and that's how they actually progress on the front of agriculture. So many things what we were actually doing in Slava's lab, so those kind of things actually happen in India, but they mostly happen in Punjab. So there is the Punjab Agriculture University, and that's where actually like, it's kind of, probably the main center for India, where actually most of the agriculture in terms of machinery, in terms of pre-harvesting, post-harvesting, like, everything related to actually that we think about agriculture happens there. So here in my place, it's more like, more or less like more in terms of irrigation. So because we have a problem with water, so there is a lot of irrigation happening, and there are technologies that farmers are adapting in the field of in the field of irrigation. But in terms of mechanization, it's kind of growing. It could be like, it could be a great potential. Probably I see like, apart from actually Punjab, probably Maharashtra, this state can also be actually very soon or less adapting like a lot of machinery, a lot of technologies, kind of like, what we did in precision agriculture. So so for my students, like, because they are actually probably like, planning to work in process instrumentation. But then like, I did my PhD in agriculture instrumentation. So I just wanted to like, have some kind of a scenario or some kind of, like, picture that our students can actually think like, okay, so instrumentation is like also like, can be applied in agriculture. And because you actually did extensive work on like, field mapping using the EM38. So that is one of the great instruments that was actually developed using the world during the World War times, like for the different purpose. And now that instrument is being used for, like for growing something like, which is very important commodity for everyone, like the food. And then, it's actually taking care of many things. So if possible, if you can share some information about that instrument. And then as you mentioned, like, you're going to be talking more or less on the drones, and then how it can be used for smart farming. So you can also mention about that. So it's all yours. And now, so before actually I go ahead, I wanted to introduce you again to our HOD. And then, like, some faculties from our department. So our HOD, sir, is Vikas Karade. He's again my classmate, like how you are my colleague. So he was my colleague during my bachelor's. So he's my friend, he's my classmate, and he'll just give a brief talk about the instrumentation department again, because he's the chair of the department. And then apart from him, there is actually some faculties. One is actually Sagar Sutar. He does a lot of work in PLC, PLC programming, PLC like controls. There is one more professor, Pushpadan Magdum. He's also doing, some work in, again, automation. There is a madam, Smita Patil madam, she does some work in DSP and control systems, like digital signal processing and control systems. Then we also have our lab technician actually joining this meeting. His name is Mr. Madan Farke. So he works more or less in the process instrumentation lab, but he's also like, electrical and kind of electrical technology specialist. So he knows all about like, motors, machines, like, controls and those things. So he's one of the very senior members. He's very soon, like probably more or less going to get retired. So he was also our teacher when I was studying. Then there is actually a Priyanka Patil madam, and then there is Rahul Morisar. So these are kind of specialists in electronics. So electronics related. And so that's it. So probably there are some more faculties who will be joining very soon, but I only see these many people right now here. So Karade sir, can you actually mention about what you wanted to mention? And again, so Vikas Karade, he's our HOD, and he's actually Dr. Ahmad Suhaizi Mat Su, okay, from Malaysia, from University Putra.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good morning, Dr. Ahmad.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Yeah, fine. So, as Rohit sir told us that the instrumentation is a multidisciplinary branch and it is related with the measurement and control. So, and we are having the establishment of this department and this college since 1983. In such a long period is there, we are having the more than the 2000 alumni which are going to be working abroad. And as we are having the multidisciplinary, our alumni is working in all types of the sectors, just like agriculture, industrial automation, process, pharmaceuticals, biomedical. So in all that area, they are going to be working. So thank you.
How many students you have per batch?
30.
30. Okay, that's good number. All of them are engineering students or a mix?
Yeah, all of them are engineering students.
And accredited from engineering board?
Yeah.
Yes, Ahmad, in India, we are actually having two sort of accreditations. Okay. So one is actually called as NAC, National Accreditation, it's a council for India itself. Okay. And then there is another thing called as NBA, which we had in also in McGill, NBA, National Board of Accreditation, right? It's an international one. So in our institute, our institute actually has a NAC accreditation. We just got it last year. Okay. And then apart from that, we also have NBA since so many years, but it is actually department specific. So civil department, civil engineering department, mechanical engineering department, electronics and telecommunication engineering department, and chemical engineering department. These departments have NBA. Okay. So any students who are actually studying in these departments, they can easily exchange, right, to some other institute. For example, if your institute has an MBA, then we can actually send them to your institute for internship, as well as students from your institute can come and study in our institute as an intern, because if we are actually having the MBA. So for NAC, I think it's not possible right now, but actually they are probably also working on that, from that internship and exchange point of view.
Yeah, so that's the thing that maybe I will scroll later on. Maybe there is a potential for the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, that we can sign both university, both college.
Yes, and
that's something that.
Yes, and that's what actually when our principal will be here, we can actually talk about that, right?
Yeah.
And especially the instrumentation department, Dr. Ahmad Su. So we are right now having a 30 intake, but it was actually before it used to be 60. So it's 60 times 4 because there is a 4-year program. So in total we can have up to 240 students. Okay. Right now our count is around 150. Okay, so we are just a little bit lesser, because what is happening is, like, instrumentation engineering branch is not actually that popular. Many actually aspirant being engineers, they don't know about instrumentation engineering, and that's why. So this is one more reason why I'm actually trying to do these sessions with the instrumentation engineering department, because I wanted to show, like, the bigger perspective of being an instrumentation engineer and how you can actually do anything in any other areas. So that's probably will kind of attract some more students joining our institute, right? So maybe Dr. Matsu, you can actually start your talk today, and then maybe at the end of the talk, maybe we can actually discuss if you have some questions. Like, we'll get some questions from the students. Do you want me to share the YouTube link with you as well, because we are actually having this session live right now on YouTube, or
Okay,
you don't
yeah,
need
no
to have
problem.
it? Yeah.
It's up to you. So
Yeah, so you can share your slides and you can start your talk.
yeah, you need to set the multiple sharing, so then I can
Oh, I
actually do
didn't
some.
do that. Huh? Yeah, just give me
Yeah,
a moment. Yes. Sorry, I'm sorry.
okay, just a second.
Yes.
Well, all right, so I'm gonna start with my slide presentation.
Yes.
Okay, can you see the slide?
Yes, we can see the slide now.
Okay, perfect.
So I'll mute my mic, okay, and I'm gonna start the recording as well.
Okay.
Yes.
So, good morning, everybody, to all respective professors, lecturers, researchers, and also students. So today, pretty much, I would like to share with you some of the my experiences and also my work done at my university, University Putra Malaysia. And the title given to me is regarding the smart farming technologies, especially in drone and also instrumentation that related with agriculture. Bear in mind that this is some of the example only that I actually work on that. But most of the stuff basically towards the application of precision agriculture technologies. Before I go detail regarding the instrument and also the drones, the tool that we use for agriculture, I would like to share with you what are the fundamental, principle behind it, and why we are actually talking about the drones, and why we care about it, and what is so important about it. Yeah. Okay. So this is just introduction. So before I go further, I would like to share with you about my university. So you can take a look on the website. Our university actually top 100 in terms of the agriculture and forestry. So in Southeast Asia, we are one of the top university as well. And in the world, we are top 200 university according to Times Higher Education. So for those who are actually interested for pursuing a PhD or master degree, so you can take a look at the bottom, the link that I put together here for the prospective student, and you can take a look at the research program that we are having right now at UPM level, and also the academic program. Okay, so the outlines for my presentation will be consist of four main section. So we are talking about the basic and fundamental about what is digital agriculture 4.0. People talk about it so much, and then here I would like to share with you why we care about it, and then why it is important, why it is not important for some other person, for farmers, for might be for those who are not interested in agriculture. Okay, what are the benefits involving technologies, or some of the technologies might not be practical, but yet actually helps in terms of doing some other things in agriculture. And here, the third section, I will talk about example of the drone, using drone as precision agriculture technologies, and also proximal soil sensors technologies, that some of the technology that I've been using for many years during my PhD, and also currently doing research in rice production as well as in oil palm production. And as the last part will be a summary. What need to be done, what is the status right now, what we should do in order to help the production. Yeah. Right. So as you see here, agriculture 4.0 is a new level of business strategy in order to enhance the production of agriculture production. Yeah, if you see here, of course, when we are talking about the numbers 4.0, where it comes from. So agriculture 1.0 is more or less a labor-intensive system, low productivity. This is where we want to make something actually very efficient manner. So we move towards more modern agriculture system, which is with the help of machinery. Of course, you can see this stage might be in India, in Malaysia, still have these 3 levels. Yeah. Especially at the level of small income farmers. Yeah. So the main one is, as long as they can actually sustain the production for the economics qualification and also for production, so they can actually still engage with this 3 level. Yeah. So what's next is here we're talking about agriculture 4.0. which is integration of multi-level operation, connect with the suppliers and customers, electronics and digital form of application. So with this integration of instrumentation, this is a very important role in agriculture production system. So of course, after 4.0, this is where the ultimate goal of artificial intelligence for 5.0. So the question is, are we there yet? So this is a question depend to whom that you pose a question is. Most of the corporates company that big country from the big country developed country, they might be already reached the status of agriculture 4.0. But the matter of like the time and also the matter of confidential in terms of information, that's actually within the corporates itself. Yeah. All right, so the question is, are we there yet? I think some of you might not agree with me. So this is where we are at. I would say more than 50% we are already there. Yeah, it's just a matter of, like I said, the data is not ready for public. Yeah, if you take a look under United Nations website, FAO, so most of the data actually available to the public, but it's just a matter of the resolution is very small. Like maybe some of the data sensors is per hour basis instead of like per second. So that's actually the level of data for the public. So here the issue of the safety and also confidentiality of the data, where the big data is the main player that's going to push for the IoT, Internet of Things components, as well as the components that that utilize the proximal sensing components. Yeah. So the second stage, of course, when you combine big data and also sensing and IT technology, so you will have the components that are going to talk machine to machine, yeah, M2M. So with this, you should be able to utilize some of the recent technology to have to develop the small scale agriculture system. So on to the right, yeah, the green color. Okay. So the agriculture system consists of can be automatic irrigation system, automatic spraying system, automatic harvesting system. That is where you can utilize the system in an efficient manner. However, if you are able to have some sort of like automation, so this is where you can develop an algorithm that to automate the operation. So with this, basically, you are going to develop a deep learning process okay, to analyze the operation and also some of the images, as for example in this slide. So you can see the computer system analyze what is the green color in this picture. So it's vegetable. So other than that, it's vegetable. Okay. So next category, kind of like will filter out what are the vegetable in the green color. So it's a mesh and also it's a network processing. So this is where the ultimate goal of the agriculture 5.0. But the question is, are this technology going to be helpful for the farmers and the groundwork? Yes and no. The answer is yes and no. Yes, when it's come to the increase of production. For example, like the most advanced technology farmers will be able to have access to this technology to differentiate, for example, between the crops and also the weeds. Yeah, so the weeds that the farmers need to remove. So with the deep learning and algorithm, so they will be able to differentiate and then apply the pesticide or by mechanical means or by chemical means. Okay, all right. Okay. These are some of the examples that I took from CIMA 2017, how we can actually, when we talk about agriculture system, so how the agriculture machine can be talk to each other, yeah, in digital farming section. So first you can have the groundwork from the top operation, and then communicate to the second level of telemetry communication, and then send all the operation to the supplier, to the ministry, administrator, and so on. So this is some of the example. Okay, so what are the benefits here? Of course, ultimate goal is about business. In agriculture, if you cannot produce reduce the cost and then get the most profit as optimum as possible, so that's going to be hard in agriculture business. Okay, so with this technology and also in the era of digital agriculture, so the business will become more integrated, become together and then interconnected. So information will be shared and the information will be fast manner, and then decision will make more be information. The information will be help in terms of the enhance the production and also efficiency. Okay. The second, the third one is, of course, if you have the standard procedure and also the in terms of the automated processes, so you can have a more informed and precise decision, especially in COVID-19 cases scenario. For example, we have in Malaysia, the staple food here is rice. Yeah, so when we have the data regarding our stockpile of rice, so we can actually project what is the maximum months of time that we can survive without importing the rice. For example, like all the country actually blocking all the export. So we can have a calculation and see how much actually stock then can supply to the domestic demand. Yeah. Okay. Something wrong with my screen, yeah. Kishore. Okay. All right. In terms of the mega trend. So the mega trend, basically the trend that's happening in the world currently. I know India, one of the big nations that going to influence the production of the foods and also in agricultural manner. So this is where the techniques that you can use or think as an option in order to produce differently new techniques. So this is in agriculture, we want to use this new technique in order to increase the efficiency and also at a lower cost. Back to this issue of labor issue. In my country, in Malaysia, so we start to have a labor issue. So unlike in India, maybe a labor issue is not a big one. So that's why a level of technology might take some time to reach a level 4.0. But in Malaysia, we have to go for level 4.0 because of the labor issue is critical. Yeah, and labor shortage is critical. So we have to import labor from outside the country. Even the local workers also is not enough. So that's why use of technology, we bring the production at the optimum lower cost, and also help the corporates companies to utilize the techniques in an efficient manner to support the maintain the supply chains of the food. Yeah, so these are the disrupting of the system with the new technology, and the drone is one of them. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Before I go further, so I want to pose this question to you, so we can actually think together. Why do we need a technology in agriculture? So what is the role of technology in agriculture, with the benefit, and how much the technology could bring the cost saving for the growers? So these are the main question that farmers always ask us as a technology provider. You guys from engineering background, you might think about only from the technology side and engineering, but from farmers' perspective, they are looking for something like a fast solving solution, and also the cost-saving application for the growers. Okay, so in my topics, if you talk about the drone, so it might not be fair, because here I want to bring all of you in terms of the big perspective. Yeah, why we talk about the drone, why we talk about the proximal soil sensors. Okay, in whole operation, so there is a data collection section where all the work done on the ground. Yeah, in the ground. So we do collect information from the crops, from the sensors, and also from the environments. Yeah, those information will bring back to the analyzing for the post-processing. So, or we call it interpretation platform. So this is where you can have deep learning processes, or automated interpretation, automated control, and so on. So in this example, we work a lot in oil palm and also rice production. So these are the components, that the main key component that going to help us in terms of the application. So of course, the application, you can have manual or semi-automatic autonomous operation. Yeah. Okay. So on this slide, I will share with you some of the prospect example of the operation of the drone, and also at the end, second section of third section will be on the proximal technology. Okay, so you might be wonder why we care about the drone technology, why people's interested so much on the drone. Speaking of rice production, yeah, in Malaysia, we have a target by 2025. Currently, our self-sufficiency of the rice production, of the rice consumption, is only 70%. Yeah, we produce only 70%. That 70% meaning that locally produced, that can be support for the local demand. Another 30% we have to import from outside the country, so in order to fulfill the demand. Yeah, that's how critical it is. So speaking of the target, right now the average yield of rice in Malaysia right now is about between 3.5 to 4.5. So there are a lot of variation, yeah, per ton per hectare. Okay, so this is a current statistic, so it's considered low. Yeah. So what are the costs that cause the low yield? One of the costs basically is because of poor crop care. Yeah. So for example, like the study that I've done regarding the drone is drone using drone for the spraying application. If you take a look on the agriculture machinery efficiency, yeah, in agriculture engineering we talk about machinery efficiency or farm efficiency. So normally, if you use manual or using a machinery, the capacity that that you could achieve is very low, between 1 to 2 hectares. So as compared to the drone application for the spraying only, you can have about double at least. So you can finish the work for 1 hectare within 1 hour. Sorry, for 4 hectare within 1 hour. So consider relatively high capacity as compared to manual and also the machinery operation. And of course, other than that, it gives you less chemical contact because of the spraying. This is where the operator get exposed to the very dangerous chemical, and also need to walk in the field. Imagine, I think some of you might experience also working in the paddy field. It's muddy, and then you might start up to your knees, your leg, and then it's very hard to walk on that. So with the drone operation, it helps quite a lot in terms of operation. Okay, next one, the reason why we go for drone technology. So we not just gamble to introduce a drone. We must have some fundamental knowledge why the drone is important. So for example, like rice production versus oil palm. So this is the total energy requirement, yeah? So comparison, if you take a look at the bottom one, is a mechanization index. Most of the operation in rice production is heavily utilized with the help of machinery. So meaning that any value that close to 1 is 100% utilized with the machinery. Where is another 18%? Yeah. So if you convert to the value of numbers in percentage, this is where we want to fill the gaps. Yeah, in rice production, especially in spraying and also granular fertilizers, still doing by manual operation. So this is a reason why some of the study that we conducted, we study the time motion study, and also we study the net energy utilization. We can have the understanding of the basic requirement of mechanization introduction to the agriculture sectors. Okay, not just gamble and then introduce. If not, we got no reason to introduce. Okay, take a look in oil palm. What happened here is mechanization index is even less than 0.5, so less than 50%. So this is where, excuse me. Yeah. So this is where the industry have the ability to either to utilize machinery or highly dependent with manual labor. So we understand that the oil palm is very challenging environment. So right now the industry is still not really keen to adopt the technology or machinery. Until right now, we have the problem of labor. So they start utilizing machinery and also mechanization for the operation. So the index actually will be increased by from now on and then in the future. Okay, so what the drone can do in agriculture. So this again continued from the advantage why how drone can help us. First, if you talking about the spraying in particular, it causes no damage to the crop and also soil. So you don't damage by walking, yeah. So you just actually fly over the crop. So by having that, it increased the efficiency. Of course, the third one is to address labor shortage. Might not be an issue in your country, in India. Speed up the operation. So like I said, if you are using tractor and also manual, so with the drone, you can speed up the operation 4 times faster than conventional practices, either using manual and also using tractors. Yeah. Low altitude and low volume spraying. So you will utilize a very low amount of chemical, pesticide or fungicide to be utilized in the environments of the agriculture. And on the social aspect, of course, we want to bring back the interest of young generation with the technology. So because we know that in agriculture is a 3D business, 3D. So dangerous, dirty, And what's another D? Anyone? I forgot also, but that's I think there is the fatigue related. Is very tired. Yeah. So this is where technology play important role in terms of the promoting to the young generation. Yeah. Okay. So we have done quite intensive study. So we utilize DJI drone ICRES 1P, MG1P for the spraying components. So you can see here explode pictures here. So we have a nozzle, remote control, the battery pack, motors, radar, ECU for the control units, tank, and also spray pump. So these are the main components for the spraying drone. So we can actually talk about it in detail later on. So with the drone is the main option as compared to the tractor mounted components, or you can have also motorized knapsack sprayer. Okay. All right. Other than that, what drone can do? Also, we can have the NDVI, sorry, images analysis for the soil fertility and health status. So with this, we can see whether the soil is ready or not to be grown. So whether it can actually tell you the level of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. The images actually captured from the top of the camera embedded on the drone system when they fly over the area. So it tells you whether it's in real time or post-processing the level of status. So that's how the drone will help us to make the cultivation ready prior to the planting. Okay, so here the planting cultivation in oil palm is critical. So you know Malaysia second largest production in oil palm. So before we plant, we do the counting and the planning. For example, we want to count how many rows and how many trees, how many seedling that we need to prepare before the planting. So this is more on management. So when we do the terracing using the drone images, so we can start planning and then do a proper management. And in addition to that, after a year or 2 years planting, so we would like to do a tree counting using image capture from the drone, and then counting algorithm which is embedded on ArcGIS or also MATLAB or any platform that can do counting. So because of the plant, some of the plant will die after a few years, because of disease, maybe not enough water and so on. So that's happened. So if that happens, so the tree counting will help us to precisely manage each individual crops at certain area. So with this, you can see some of the crop basically less require special treatment. So with when we actually tag along with GPS ID that embedded from the GPS from the drone images, so you can actually have a better manage, and then better manage for the resources and also for the annual budget. Okay, for the big farm. Okay, another one is for the monitoring the area for the irrigation control. So here you can have some same concept as NDVI, that you can look for differences between red area and blue. Red, which is a dry area, and wet for the blue area, which is need to be irrigated or no need to be irrigated. So speaking of this plot, basically this is more correspond to the rice production and also corn production in Malaysia. Okay, and also a bit more advanced in terms of the farming. So we want to estimate how much pesticide that we need to purchase. Yeah, I'm sorry about the language at the bottom. I forgot to translate in Bahasa Malay. So I should actually translate into English. Apologize for that. So when we have the ability to capture the image from the top of the crop, we can actually estimate how much the chemical that we need to purchase. So as a consequences, so we not only actually have an efficient manner in terms of the location, how much to purchase, we also able to know the location of the weeds, and then we might have to do a site-specific operation instead of uniform. So this is where the new techniques of the farmers that they have to think about it. Yeah. All right. So we are talking about variable rate technology. However, some challenges to adopt such technology. For example, like how can we maximize the drop of the seedling and also fertilizer using VRT. So this is still open for research and development. Currently, I'm doing a research in this one. So what actually concerns us is the operation that actually conduct by the farmers. Currently, they apply uniform fertilizer application, but when we want to introduce the VRT, so they might contradict with the current practice. So they won't agree too much with us. But what we suggest was actually the dollar signs, the input cost. So at least with this technology, we can reduce the fertilizer utilization at least 25%. So it's a big chunk of money in terms of the saving. Okay, so here are some of the list of the advantages using drone. So of course, in agriculture, we want to talk about efficiency. So if efficiency in terms of the energy utilization and efficiency in terms of the time of production. So this is very important, and in order to deliver the production of agriculture as optimum approach. And then of course depend on the second factor is the human energy. As compared before, if we want to utilize per hectare basis, we have to utilize at least 4 people, okay, for the spraying, for example. But if with the drone technology, we use only 1 to 4 ratio human energy, so you can save the cost for the operation and also cost for the labor. Uniform application, so this is again you can choose for the VRT application, and of course in terms of the safety, so we are talking about the exposure of human to agriculture chemical. So particularly for the spraying. So if you are talking about spraying of agriculture chemical, so that is where the OSHA actually regulation have very strict rules on that. Yeah. So relatively easy to handle for the drone technology. So this is quite common. So I'm not sure about the level of adoption of the technology drone in India, but I know it's getting famous. It's getting utilized quite efficiently. For example, in Malaysia, we in rice production and also in oil palm. In rice production, we utilize so far about 30% of the total area. Yeah, already established with the drone technology. Yeah, in oil palm, a little bit slow. I would say about 5% starting to have that. In oil palm, particularly for the counting and also for the planning. So they use it for better approach. Yeah. All right. However, there are a few issues and challenges using drone. Yeah. First, local regulation in Malaysia, we limit by the Civil of Aviation. It's the same thing in India, I believe. It's international standard. So if you want to design a drone, make sure that you check for the regulation requirement first. We have very strict rule here in Malaysia. We are not allowed to fly more than 150 meters height. But for agriculture, normally we fly less than that. Even like for the spraying, for example, less than 10 meters. Even 5 meters is considered very high. So that is where the regulation come into play. Okay, affordable drone. So this is the most critical issues. Yeah, affordable drone. Right now, there is no available drone that actually could cost less than 1,000 USD. for the spraying, for example, for the farmers. So right now, the available market is between 10 to 30,000 USD. Like for example, like good drone DJI iGrass 1P, that's the most famous and then most stable. So it might not be suitable for small farmers production. So what are the solutions? So this is where the brainstorming that we should think about it, and then you might be able to find a cost-effective approach to provide a solution to the farmers. So, for example, I want to share with you what actually farmers in Malaysia, what they are doing. So they know that the cost of the drone is very expensive. So through the cooperative, yeah. So they have some funding from the government, and then the government give them some of the like zero interest loan in order for them to operate such business, like provide the services to the farmers, local farmers among cooperative members. So they charge at minimum rate, and then while maintaining some of the parts of the drone itself, and also do a better job for the farmers within the cooperative area. Excuse me, I have to okay, flight time. Okay. Okay, yes.
Yes, so good. I thought, like, you know, you feel a little bit tired. Maybe you want to take a break of 2 minutes.
No, I can proceed. Just
Is that your kids on the background?
Yeah, I just want to say something to them. Just a second.
Yes, please.
A second, yeah. Adik,
Yes, please.
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem, man.
Yeah,
Same
okay.
problem here.
Okay. Okay. Where am I? Okay, the flight time. Okay, another issue is the power of the drone. Yeah. So currently the technology is not strong enough to provide a long flight time. What is available to the market right now is a battery power source. Yeah. With the battery power source, the maximum without load that you could actually fly is only up to 20 minutes. Yeah, the maximum. With the load, you could have only up to 50 minutes maximum. So this is the limitation of the flight time due to physical aspect of the drone. Although there is a hybrid system available for heavy and expensive machinery, like for the drone, the price might be a bit expensive than conventional, of course, but the reliability of it, we are not sure yet, yeah, because the technology is still new, so we need to test and then improve it. So this is maybe aerospace engineer can think about it and then come with a new solution. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I have some example of how the drone actually conducted in Malaysia. So I will play with it and then take a look. I might skip for a few screens only. So what it does basically doing is spraying. You barely see you don't see the spraying particle because maybe because due to the resolution of the video, and also the spraying particle is very fine. Yeah. So with that, they touch to the crop normally in uniform manners, and also deep to the trees. the tree profile. Okay, I might skip to the end. Okay. So what happened here is all the spraying actually is not manual. It's automatically programmed on the remote controller. So basically the system will identify the border, the buffer, and also how many paths, how many distance between one path to another. So there will be a computerized system automatically calculated. All right. So speaking of the technology of the drone development, so where we are at right now, yet we haven't seen some of the onboard sensor fusion. Of course, this will help us in terms of the big data analytics and also introduce a better agriculture IoT technology. And then basically, we want to make a better decision in terms of the crop management, in terms of the market, in terms of the resource management. So this is where the opportunity for you guys to think about it, what we are looking at. Okay, all right. Speaking of the drone itself, might not be fair because if we talk about the crop production, we're not relying alone on the drone. Yeah, so there are many information that we need to gather to provide us some information regarding the soil, regarding the crops. And then what we are talking about here is the next slide that I would like to share with you is regarding the proximal soil sensing. So, so here I work a lot on the apparent soil electrical conductivity. So here is some of the example that we map the electrical currents in the soil, and also hydraulic conductivity maps, availability of the water to hold some amount of water inside the soil that's suitable or not for the rice or paddy field. Okay, so some of the example that work done that we measured using instrument that we developed in-house programming system to monitor those variations, spatial variation of the soil ECA using DualM31S. So we drag across the field, and then eventually we should be able to see some of the output maps. Okay, some of the information also we have here, Geonic EM38. So those sensors, so at the bottom, that's how it looks like. DualM31S is a round pipes about 4 meters length. Okay, and also EM38 is both of them are categorized as EMI. EMI stands for electromagnetic inductance sensors. Basically, what it does at the front, you have transmitter, and at the back, you have receiver. So when transmitter send a current to the soil, so the soil basically acting as a secondary, we produce a secondary coil, fluxes. So this is the effect of eddy current. So the effect, the secondary coil fluxes will detect by the receiver to see the differences. So they record the responses both in IP mode and also in QP mode. So same thing, same concept happen in the DualM31S. So both of them are same principle, the same concept under EMI sensors. GCR on my right is actually governing contact resistivity. So this is the same concept of resistivity where the sensor basically touch or disturb the sensors. So it cut through the sensors like this plate, and then send the signal transmitter and also receiver. The inner, these two pair, the inner part is a transmitter, the outer pair is a transmitter. So is the sensor could actually penetrate the signal up to 1.5 meter deep of the soil profile. Same as Geonic EM31, but for DualM is up to, if I'm not mistaken, 6 meters depth. So basically you can dig for the, you can do mining here on this one. Even you can do more on this one, DualM31S. How much the price? Geonic, I know there is a new version of EM38 from EMI sensors. I'm not sure whether this is the dealer price or the market price, but normally the price range between 50 to 60,000 USD. For Dual M31S is close to 150,000 USD. Depend on the length. There are two models on Dual M. There is 1 meter. There are 4 meters. Depend on which version that which model that you are interested on. And for varies a little bit higher end, is about close to 150. This is physical contact resistivity sensors. The difference is the advantage of using this sensor is they are actually versatile, and also using EMI sensor is portable. You can bring the sensor on in your pickup or car and then bring to the site. But on GCR sensors, they are quite heavy, and you have to have a kind of like maybe pickup truck or maybe tractor mounted a trailer to bring this sensor. So that's the beauty on EMI sensors. Okay. Right.
Yes,
Another sensor is on GEM2 sensor, that new version of sensor that we utilize in Malaysia. We have this sensor. I use it for scanning in oil palm plantation. So we attach to ATV, same concept, and then drag behind the wheel. Yeah, you might be wonder why we have a gap, about 2 meters gap here, because this EMI sensor is sensitive to the metal. So minimum gap is 2 meters away from the metal, so we can see very minimal effect while dragging behind the ATV. Okay, so here are the example of the outcome maps. Yeah, so you can see some of the maps here show some of the spatial variation of the field. So this is agriculture field. So the darker color, for example, like orange color, shows like low EC, and then the blue one is higher EC. So you can see that the higher EC, ECA, that's highly correlate with the moisture content and also soil organic matter. So you can tell whether the soil is going to be like good or not for the farming activities. Okay, so in other hand, you can have a better grid system to manage the field, whether you can have 5x5 or 1x1. 5x5, I found that's the best. So you can have a better treatment. So you can see here, the green color is the highest, where you need to do a special treatment on the field, or you don't irrigate or do some other application. Okay, this is soybean. So that's how this will correlate with the sensors platform and also with the yield. So higher yield on lower EC value. So you can tell there is some corresponding area, but other area might not be strongly correlate with this data. Okay, so this is another one. You can actually the sensor pick up the irrigation line, so you can see the planning for the line. So when you have excess of water, this is where Dr. Nankishore mentioned that some of the area have problem of wet water. So you might have to think to dig a soil and then put a drainage pipe. So this is where when you do the mapping with the sensor, so in those information will help you to plan what distance of the irrigation line that need to be there and where is going to be located. Yeah. All right. Overall, so the impact of this transformation of technology, of course, is going to help us in terms of the health, in terms of the demographic shift, economic, and so on. So this is actually varies from one country to another. And then speaking of, in particular in Malaysia, I think it's the same thing in India as well. So what we are talking about here is about the cross-discipline technology, not only in agriculture, technology that you can apply, you can bring all technology that can be helped in terms of the agriculture production. So of course, you can see here the issues here, the impact is overlap each other. So it's not a standalone. So meaning that is dependent each other, that going to bring a better livelihood of the people. Okay, what are the opportunities? Yeah, what we can do to boost agriculture production. First is about the cost. I know in India also there are a lot also small farmers, medium farmers, and large farmers. So development of affordable drone system or sensor system platform that can be utilized by small farmers is very helpful. I don't really agree with the cheap technology, because here is where we want to introduce the technology innovation and so on, right? So affordable means with the scope of production of farmers. So we need to think something more practical approach in order to help farmers. Yeah, and then also integrated system. This is where the fusion of the platform of the sensors and also the IoT-based sensor for broad monitoring. So for example, you have somebody actually work in the field, and then while you are doing monitoring in front of the computer. So there must be some integrated system while doing some monitoring here in the office, and also what is happening on the ground. So this is where the technology is needed. Okay, farmer intelligence and knowledge. Of course, I like to talk to the farmers actually in terms of the knowledge they have, and then would actually give us better feedback in terms of the application and technology that we develop. So this is very important because technology is actually meant for them. So they are the one actually going to tell us whether the technology that we develop going to be beneficial for them or not. Okay, and then another opportunity is real-time feedback and communication between stakeholder and grower. For example, pest and disease. So right now we have a technology like communication through Facebook, WhatsApp, and maybe Telegram, whatsoever, that relatively fast, but it's not encrypted, it's not safe. So how actually we can help farmers in terms of the creating a real-time feedback to the expert direct to the farmer. So this is where the opportunity is. All right, as a summary, of course, the technology is important to be developed, and also it's important to be integrated, but it must be affordable, reliable, and practical to growers. And this system have to be in near future will be better for farm management in terms of the big data analysis and also market-driven products. Second key points here is cooperative between agencies. So the funding incentive and program is important. So both from government, from university, from college, and so on. So not only from output-based concept, but must be to support the innovation for the long run. Yeah, and then also the government bodies should establish some flexibilities for regulation. So some old regulation need to be flexi enough in order to invite the new technology player. And last but not least is partnership with the industry. This is what you are doing right now, inviting industries to your universities to do the talk, and also partner with them in developing countries, put some funding and so on for the new technology. So that's very important in the prospect development for the human resource. All right, so why we care about that? So the ultimate goal, basically, we don't want to go back to our ancestor doing hunting and gathering. So we want to go for better civilization towards modern agriculture. Mainly why? Because we want to address the issue of less food. We want to address the issue of increase of population. We want to address the issue of production rate. We want to address the issue of efficiency. But the most important thing is we want to address the issue for the food safety and security. So that's actually with that. So that's will be my end of the presentation. And then if you have a question, comments, so welcome. Thank you. So this is my contact. Anything you can just email me. And then that's my address for my university. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmad. Thank you so much, Dr. Ahmad Suhaizi Mat Su. I'm sorry, I'm used of calling you Ahmad, and you're probably used of calling me Kishore.
That's
And
fine.
very actually interesting. It's been quite a while actually. We haven't catched up with each other. And again, I want to really say thanks, and probably we'll chat again. And I'm really happy that you shared, like, the scenario in Malaysia with respect to the drones and with respect to the the soil proximal soil sensing technologies. And I'm really glad to see, like, again, those fields on which we worked crazily. And I wanted probably to bring that picture where we actually pull the EM sensor, but probably you don't have that with you. And what I was mentioning is, like, thanks for actually mentioning about the term, like, agriculture 4, right? Because here right now there is actually this 4.0, like, industry 4.0, automation 4.0, something like 4.0. So, like, in agriculture, this term actually I'm hearing it for the first time, agriculture 4.0. I think when last time we had this UK Canada workshop, you remember
Yeah.
that UK Canada? I think that term was kind of tossed there in McGill, like
Yep.
the agriculture 4, and what would be what would be the scenario for the big data and things that might actually happen in future. So that's actually very interesting that you actually tossed the term again, like 4.0, because here many people are still, again, many farmers are still in the agriculture 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. And
Okay.
then 4.0 is still, like, probably the one that might happen. And then again, 5.0 is very, like, the futuristic approach on which every one of us can actually work together. And thank you so much, actually, Ahmad. Unfortunately, in our side, there is some kind of a meeting with different faculties. So everyone is probably in a little bit rushed to escape from this
Okay.
meeting to attend another meeting. But I wanted
Okay.
you to introduce our principal, sir, if he is around. Gheore, sir.
Yeah, I can see.
Principal, sir, are you there? Yes. So when actually we started the meeting, Ahmad and me, we were mentioning about, like, some kind of a potential that can happen between his university and our institute in terms of innovation, in terms of research, in terms of actually exchange of knowledge and exchange of people, like, students and faculty. We can go to his institute, and then people from his institute can come in our institute, and those kind of things seem to be possible. And then again, me and Ahmad, we were colleagues once upon a time, and we worked with people from across the globe, from Australia, CSIRO, from Germany, then actually from UK, from Canada, from US, from Brazil, and himself in Malaysia, and as well as obviously from China. So we have a great network across the world, and our society is called as Proximal Soil Sensing Society, or the Proximal Soil Sensing Work Group. So we can, maybe there are many things that we can do, like, even in Sangli, in Maharashtra, like, with them and with us. And he wanted to also probably express that with you. So if you can actually just mention, like, if I can request you to mention about, like, Sangli, our college, and those many other things. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Welcome, Professor Ahmad.
Thank you.
Very good morning to you. I was a little late in joining because I was traveling to office.
Okay.
And as and when I came to office, I joined again. It was nice listening to you. Really, it will help all of us to get connected, because Sangli is again a very important area, which is in Maharashtra state in India. We call Sangli, Kolhapur as advanced areas as far as agriculture is concerned. The farmers are also inclined to make use of recent technologies which are coming up and try to increase their productions. So they're very alert as far as increasing production is concerned. And therefore, they're in need of latest technologies which are coming in the market. So it will really be helpful if we get connected. We can have some farmers, which are well-educated farmers here in Sangli area. We can get them connected, and we can go ahead with some objectives. We can, of course, again, once we can discuss with some of the educated farmers, will have some online meetings like this. And then definitely our institute will take this ahead, and we can have very good collaboration. And we can also try for faculty exchange, student exchange programs. Those who are interested to work in precision agriculture area by making use of this IoT and all technologies, drone technologies. Because see, always there is always one question in mind. My mind is always there that can we estimate the level of production that particular soil can give us? What is the maximum? Can we calculate what is the maximum possible production of, say, a cash crop, sugar cane is there in a single area? So by soil analysis, can we calculate what maximum production that soil will be able to produce?
The question was, can we estimate the production of the crop production, based from the soil?
Maximum limit.
Yeah. So here there are two things different. The soil basically is a media that provide the input for the crop to grow, and then when the crop grow is produce a biomass. So when you ask about estimation of the crop, basically we need to measure the biomass of the crop. Then we can estimate how much yield that we can actually produce. The soil actually basically just provide environments for the crop to grow. It's just a matter of like from one season to another, you will not get the same result. So the answer is yes and no. Back to the question, to predict the yield production from the soil. It depends on the database that you develop, your experience. If you don't have the database, the answer is no, because historically you don't know what will be the potential of the area for the crop that you cultivate.
Yeah. It is a little bit complex, is an issue.
Correct. Yeah.
Because there are many variables involved in it.
Correct.
And therefore, yeah, it is a little bit complex. So while measuring yield production, how we calculate this efficiency or efficiency of yield production of a particular area of plot?
You're talking about efficiency in terms of the production, or in terms of the time?
Efficiency of production. Yeah.
Okay. So let's say I have 1 hectare. So I grow corn or maybe other grain. Yeah. So when we talk about the efficiency of the yield, so there are many factors affecting the yield. For example, like input, how much input that you put, how much variation in the climate's variation. Is it going to affect the yield or not? Let's assume that that any control variables that we put as a standard, we try our best to put as grow possible as possible. Then it come back when it comes to the yield. So the main factors is the technique that we actually use to cultivate our outputs, the production. So if you are using manual approach to harvest the yield, so your losses might be less. If you use machinery, for example, so at least 1% reduction of the yield. Let's say out of 1 ton, so 1% of it will be losses because of the leakage through the machine and so on. So that is where the efficiency of the harvesting in terms of the losses, in terms of the losses from the machinery is quite critical as well. Other than that, in terms of the efficiency, in terms of the work done. So in India, you might have access to the affordable labor as compared to Malaysia. Yeah, you have a lot of labor. So in this case, if you want to have the work done overnight, so you might have to hire a lot more people than the standard operation. So we just meaning that you just actually hire, pay extra out of your pocket money, and then get the job done in tomorrow morning. So in this case, you have efficiency in terms of the time for the harvest, but efficiency for the yield harvesting, the outcome might be a different story.
Mhm.
Okay.
We can
I hope.
really, yeah. See, actually, myself and Dr. Nandikishore were discussing this issue last 2 months. That can we
Okay.
have some interaction with the foreign universities? Can we have some courses running? Can we design some course through which the students will appear for course and they will earn additional credit, and it will be um, uh, coordinated by Dr. Nandikishore, and we can have faculty from outside, and we can have the certification courses likewise.
I
And
see.
we can, because now our university is allowing to add many elective courses. So we can add some such elective courses. If you can prepare one course, we can suggest to our university, and they will add this course as elective, and the students may opt for that elective course, and they can carry out their studies regarding to precision agriculture, and which is very much necessary, because now in India many industrialists are turning towards agriculture. They're
Yeah.
purchasing uh, big area of lands, and they're trying to cultivate, and because that is the only where we can multiply, isn't it?
Correct.
Innumerably.
I know some part of the India also try to grow oil palm as well. So there are experts also from Malaysia go to India to help with that.
Yeah.
So that's actually good news as well.
Yeah. So we can think of such things and we can develop a network of our farmers in our area.
Yeah, I have a question regarding the status of your college. Is it private or is it under state government?
It is a private college, but it is
Private.
affiliated to state university.
Okay. Okay,
So
subsidiary under state university.
yeah, it's a
Okay.
state technological university. It is affiliated,
I see.
and
Okay.
we have freedom to design courses and add electives.
Okay, so yes, I think this one I can discuss further with Dr. Nankishore
Yeah.
regarding the scope of collaboration that we can have. Maybe I can teach one courses for certification regarding precision agriculture technology and so on. So it just matter of formality, so we can discuss further through the meeting and so on. So that's feasible to do that.
Yeah. And we can also conduct some development programs. For example, 2 weeks workshop uh, under the Government of India initiative of GAN scheme, GIAN, GAN scheme is there. So wherein we can invite the experts from outside countries, foreign countries, and we can have a course of 15 days for students as well as for faculty members.
Sure.
So under GAN, we can get some support from government.
Okay.
And that can be organized through our university under a TechVip scheme of Government of India.
Yeah.
So we can take our association ahead. There are many ways, opportunities for us to keep our interaction live, and that will definitely help our students also, faculty also, as well as we'll try to uh, pass on this benefit to our farmers in this Sangli area.
Okay.
And
So the most simple project that we can start is actually on the drone technology, spraying drone. So this is again, like we can talk about detail how we can actually provide those research grant or maybe and so on. So this can be worked through research, can be worked as extension services to the farmers directly, or you can have it as maybe as a CSR approach from your college to the farmers. So that's a few approach that we can think of.
yeah.
Okay.
So we'll have such kind of interaction.
Sure.
And Dr. Nandakishore will coordinate all these things.
Sure, yeah. I will talk further with Dr. Nankishore,
Yeah.
the direction, because I have to refer also for my university regulation,
Yeah.
what are needed and so on. So on detailed parts, formalities, so I have to come back to you later on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
Yeah. Nice of you.
Yeah,
Really.
thank you, sir. Yeah.
Hello, sir. Ambitious.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank.
Kishore.
Yeah. Yes, you can take it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you so much, sir. Yeah, it's okay. So thank you. So there are actually few questions, Ahmad, and there was one question from our Dean Academics.
Okay.
It is very nice and informative session. Have to leave in between, so there is another meeting that he's attending. Would like to know about the relevance and cost effectiveness of drone technology for small farmers. Like,
Small
so
farm.
because in
Okay.
India, we are actually having small farmers who have less than 1 hectare of land.
Okay.
And those are actually classified as small farmers who are actually the majority of farmers in India. So
Yeah.
what is the cost effectiveness, from their perspective? So that is one
Okay.
question. And then there is one more question here actually in the chat box. There are actually some faculties who are interested to do PhD, right? And so my question is, what are the major research areas in drone for field of agriculture? And is it possible by capturing only image of soil, we can sort out whether it is fertile or not? So that is one question, two questions. And then the last question is how many liters of insecticide can drone carry? What will be the cost of the drone? So for example, for certain spraying, how much liters it can carry? So
Okay.
if you can note all these questions and then you can tell them one by one, that can be one way. Or if you
Okay.
didn't remember, then you can ask me again and I'll tell the question again. Thanks,
Okay.
Ahmad.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Kishore.
Yes.
The first question regarding the approach and also suitable rate for the small farm. Yeah. So in my opinion, from my experience in the Malaysia scenario, we charge to the farmers all in one. We provide pesticide, chemical, and also operation. So the farmers have to pay only between 20 to 40 USD per hectare. Okay? 20 to 40 per hectare. That's the cost that farmers have to pay. Why there is a big range? 20 if the area is close to the cooperative members. 40 is inclusive the transport costs, the fuel and so on. So there is much variation due to some distance and also the traveling. I think in India, it might be much more cheaper because first, the access of the technology, when you develop in-house development, will become more affordable and much more cheaper. Because I think this is where you can actually push for the technology to be utilized among farmers, small-scale farmers. Yes, same situation in Malaysia as well. Some of the farmers have even less than one hectare, and yet they want to use a drone rather than manual. Yeah, we encourage them, but sometimes they have to bear the cost for the transportation. So if they actually willing to pay, so I mean the technology is there. So it's just a matter of whether the time is right or not to apply the technology to the farm. Yeah. Of course, again, depend. Although the area is very small, depend on the value of the crop. Yeah. If the crop value is very high, for example, you have a vineyard, for example, or the other like a very high value crop. So the cost spraying is actually a lot less than other operation. So I believe the farmers is not hesitate to hire the operation. On next question regarding the question of is it possible by capturing only image of the soil that we can sort out whether it is fertile or not? Yes and no. First, yes, if you do the modeling and also the database development in the lab, and also with the image that you collected. For example, you capture the image from one location and then take the soil from there and then analyze in the lab and then find the linear correlation or maybe non-linear correlation. And then you can try to relate how fertile the soil is. And then the answer is no when you highly, totally dependent on only from the image, because you need to understand that the soil image is basically just RGB, right? And also you can have up to full length images up to 2,500 nanometer of the wavelength. So in this aspect, you could have a better chance of prediction. But again, normally in scientific manners, we do have procedure. Normally, we have to do some sort of like a calibration curve to the actual soil properties first before you come up with fertilizer management or fertilizer recommendation. Next question is a micronutrient analysis possible? Yes, there is a sensors that indirectly measure the NPK, but and also nitrogen, which is pH. But the stability of sensors, that's another issue that we have to work with. If you have knowledge on signal processing and so on, it will be excellent how to process that signal and then make sure that all those micronutrients can be established. Another way around is to establish a surrogate approach by having a model to predict some other nutrient content from other nutrient content by having some analysis and so on. Okay. Next question is how many liters of insecticide can drone carry? What would be the cost of that drone? Right now, the available size of the tank is varies from 5 liters, 10 liters, 15 liters, and 20 liters. So you got 4 options. Even higher than that you can go. But remember that when you fly with a drone, takeoff weight is the limiting factors for the drone to fly over the time. More weights that you carry will be less for the flight time. Let's say, for example, you carry 20 kilogram or 20 liters of the tank. So you might only fly maximum is 10 minutes because another 10 minutes to come back, right? In the safe manner. So if not, your drone will drop. Yeah. So we don't want that. Most of the tank in Malaysia is limited by the flight time and by regulation by the by a civil of aviation. Mostly they carry 15 liters. Yeah, 15 liters. But they use a high concentration of the chemical and fly low, and then that will be actually cover most of the area. With the 15 liters, it could reach half hectares within 50 minutes. Yeah. What would be the cost for the drone? The cost varies. I think in India the cost will be much more cheaper because you can develop on your own. I know there is a genius in India. In Malaysia, we have also developed our own. But the question is how stable they are, the stability of the drone when they do the spraying, and then in terms of the cost also depend on the set of sensors or technology that you put together. For example, if you put radar that actually automate the position of the sensor behind on the top of the crop, so that will maybe the cost range from 10,000 to 30,000 K USD. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, no, I think thank you. Actually, if there are more questions, I'll get back to you again, Ahmad. So can I actually stop this session on live? Like, I'm going to stop